Rogue decks suck, and that's okay. So now that I've baited you in with some inflammatory title, allow me to explain what I actually mean. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, you more or less have two different kinds of decks. You've got the super competitive meta decks. These are the ones that you see in the competitive scene, a lot of tournaments. These are the ones winning and getting a lot of the top spots. That's, most recently, that's the example of these Spirals or Zodiacs, Pendulum Magicians, True Draco. That should all ring a bell. These decks are the way they are because they're usually very fast. They're usually very consistent. They're usually very powerful. They can put out either some unbreakable board or some crazy OTK or just a lot of pressure on your opponent. And they're generally just tough to beat. They don't have a lot of weaknesses. They're, just not really prone to lots of removal. It's hard to find counter strategies to them. And these are the decks that when you go to a large tournament, the vast majority of people are going to be playing these decks because they're good and because they win. On the other hand, you've got what most people call rogue decks or lower tier decks. These are the decks that can occasionally do pretty well in tournament, but it's just unlikely that they will. This could be something like Infernoids or Burning Abyss or Heroes, things like that, things that they don't show up a lot. If they're played really well, if they get a really good set of, rounds, if the person's super prepared, some might even say, lucky, then they'll be able to win here or there. And so that's basically the kind of big distinction here. So why do I say that these decks suck and why am I saying that that's okay? Well, there are actually a handful of reasons why I think that it's actually good to play rogue decks and it's good that they're not good, if that makes any sense. Reason number one, they're unexpected. The biggest thing about Yu-Gi-Oh is you want to play a deck that will win, and it kind of goes hand in hand then. If you're playing a popular deck, people will know how to fight against it. So I think it's actually good to play a deck that is unexpected, because even if it's not necessarily as good as a top tier deck, the fact of the matter is these decks are still tougher to counter. People get a little bit nervous when they have to face something like Trick Stars. People get a little bit nervous when they have to face something like Dark Law out of nowhere. Or something like, the Infernoid deck, for example. These are things that, they're kind of more off-the-wall strategies. They're more unexpected. They're oftentimes harder to counter, even if it means that they're a gimmick, even if it means that they're inconsistent. The fact of the matter is these are decks that are not commonly seen, not commonly cited for, generally just not commonly play tested against. And so for that reason, it's actually a good thing to be playing a bad rogue deck. Next, you get to be more creative with rogue decks. I'm sure we've all gone through the experience of, trying to build a more popular deck, and what you find is a lot of homogeny. People have played and tested and grinded these decks out to oftentimes form this sort of small box, a cookie cutter list that you have to play and kind of can't deviate from if you want the optimal build. What's fun about rogue decks though is that as bad as they are, you do get to put your own personal spin on things. You can play different tech cards, you can play different builds, you can try different strategies and use a different style and approach, and people won't attack you so badly over it. Now obviously it's the Yu-Gi-Oh community, so people are gonna, hate how you build any given thing, but the truth is, it's much less pressure to perform. When you're using a rogue deck, maybe nobody expects that you'll win. And nobody expects your build to be a certain way because there's not just the one, super packed down, grinded out to the core, just sort of trimmed fat build. You get to be creative. You get to do what, in my opinion, Yu-Gi-Oh is all about, building your own deck. The next reason is because you don't have to fear the ban list. When you play a rogue deck, it means that basically none of the cards in your deck are good. It's not a deck that's winning. It's not a deck that's topping or making the game unplayable like certain other things we've dealt with. So when you play these decks, it means you don't have to worry so much about the ban list. But when you're one of those people who invest loads and loads of dollars into the most popular current deck of the time, whether it's Zodiacs, whether it's Pendulum Magicians, who knows, that might get hit. Whether it was Spirals, which you kind of saw what happened to them and now they're maybe not as good. So, when you play those decks, you're kind of walking the tightrope. You get to know that eventually, it could be in 2 weeks, certain examples, or it could be in, a year. But the fact of the matter is, usually those top tier decks are going to eventually get hit by the ban list and your investment is going to be gone. Not to mention, it's not even just the money that you lose, it's also the fact that if you did enjoy that deck, none of that matters now because that deck is gone. Imagine if you were somebody who enjoyed playing Shaddolls, just for the pure kind of fun of it. Doesn't matter. Too good of a meta deck, banlist tore it to the ground, and now that deck just kind of can't play. It really sucks, and sometimes it actually feels unfair because I think that, there are people who like a deck for what it is and then sometimes still have to suffer. But the good part about playing a rogue deck that doesn't see really a whole lot of play is that you don't have to worry about any of that. And the last reason will resonate especially well with a lot of players because of a recent deck. If you've been playing a rogue deck for a really long time and you're really passionate about it and you enjoy it and you've tested it, it kind of sucks when it randomly becomes a meta deck. Let's take Spirals, for instance. Spirals have actually been around for, a couple of years. A TCG exclusive archetype has gotten lots of different kinds of support. For the longest time, it was a rogue deck at best. Kind of mediocre. Obviously, there were a few builds that were quirky and topped here and there, but for the most part, this wasn't a deck that was really, gonna be a top contender. It's not what people thought would win. Then Spiral Double Helix comes along, and this deck becomes the new cancer of the game almost, where, turns take 10 minutes, and if you play Spirals, you're considered a sheep, and you're considered, whatever, a follower, you're just, being like another meta whore. And I feel like I actually saw on the internet posts, people saying like, I've played Spirals for the longest time. I'm mad that Double Helix came out and this deck became top tier because now I can't enjoy my favorite deck. I'm called, a sellout if I play it. And, a Spiral player, maybe they're really excited about Double Helix for just the fact that Double Helix is a good support card for the archetype that they love so much. Nope, doesn't matter. You're now playing the top tier meta deck, and, you're going to be condemned just like everybody else who's playing Spirals. And, that's happened a few times before in the past. There have been decks that have kind of, suddenly become meta out of nowhere. And oftentimes that means that, like I said before, they'll get hit on the ban list and they'll become really popular and people are going to, strike you down for playing them. So I think that it's actually good for most rogue decks that they aren't good. So this video is to offer a different perspective. Hopefully you guys learned something. I know it is a little bit of a weird way to make a point, but I think that this was kind of the best way to do it. Rogue decks can still be a lot of fun. They can still be competitive, but I think it's okay that they aren't necessarily as good as the top tier meta decks. So that's it for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys got my point through all of this. Let me know what you think about rogue decks. Do you actually like that they aren't as good as the main deck? Do you find more challenge in that, more fulfillment, more enjoyment? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. And so before I go, I do want to do a box giveaway of the new Spirit Warriors set. If you guys are interested in that, subscribe to the channel. If I get to maybe like 80,000 subscribers here in the next couple of weeks, that's my goal. Help me out with that. I will try to do a little Spirit Warriors box opening giveaway. I'll talk to TCG players and see if I can make that happen. All right, that's gonna be it. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it, and I will see you guys in the next one.